Hey everybody, what's going on? I'd love to keep the music playing, but copyright police. Let me turn this down. I'll start the music and turn it down. Control, 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 police, police, police. That's the name of the game these days, isn't it? Anyway, I'm coming at you because it is Thursday already. The weeks fly by to me. They do. Thursday, January 5th already. And I have a friend in town for a funeral, unfortunately, but good friend of mine, Gary Foster, drummer, good friend. He's on my album Dereck 2, plays drums on one track, but he's in town and he's a big record seller mainly. He collects, but mainly sells. He's on the East Coast, and my car's still being down. He messaged me last night and said, "Hey, I'm going to go digging in Council Bluffs tomorrow. I got a message that Canesville got in 1,000 records last night. You want to go?" Twist my arm, even though I don't have any money. So what I did was I took some of my records, really mainly to show to the owners of Canesville, because it's a used store. They don't sell new records. I didn't really had no expectation, but it turns out that Tim was interested in and took some stuff for trade. So I ended up trading for some records today. Now, interestingly, some of the stuff that they got in, I was really interested in, but I couldn't afford it. The stuff that I'm really interested in is collectible these days. Like, for example, they'd gotten in some electronic albums. Ruth White. If you know electronic music, you know about Ruth White. And the album they got in was on the Limelight label. And they wanted minimum $80 for that. And then they got in some records on the People label, James Brown's label, Lynn Collins, and this other woman, Betty. I forget her name or what it is, but those were all in the $100 to $200 range that they wanted, which I'm interested in those records, plus some jazz records that my friend Gary was able to afford. Some just mint Riverside and Impulse releases and titles and things that I don't even remember ever seeing. Just like they look never played. Amazing. Anyway, I had to, of course, do what I've always done in my life for the most part, is to find what I could find cheaply, and I found a couple things, nothing huge. One replacement record, although it's not the original, and I used to have the original. So I'll show what I got. It was really nice hanging out with Gary, and it was nice visiting with another VC member, Joe Benson, works there. And Joe was there. And Joe, if you see this, hey. But I picked up John McLaughlin, Where Fortune Smiles. Look at that lineup. This is a reissue on Pi. It's nice though. It has a textured cover. But this originally came out in England on John Peel's label Dawn. And I had it once. I had a copy. But really pleased to I have a John McLaughlin collection, not a big one because he's on a lot of records, but I have a collection. Always happy to add something to it. So this was one find from today. That's probably my big find. The other one that I'm super happy with is the one I'm playing, and I'll get to that. But the other records that I traded for was, I went ahead and got the full-length album by the Armory Show, Waiting for the Floods. And I still like this band. This came out in 1985. So, but this band, it's made up of members of Magazine and the Skids. Richard Jobson on vocals. John McGee, who was not only in Magazine, but Susie and the Banshees, Public Image Limited. What an amazing guitar player, Plus, for me, John Doyle on drums, who I always thought was much an ace card for Magazine, their drummer. Drummers are very important, folks. A band very seldom is better than its drummer. You can only be as good as the drummer. There's just a lot of truth in that. There is. So I was glad to get this, and it's in great shape. Played all of side one because I really like these songs. I have about 3 singles from this that I've had since, it came out, but now I have the full length. This, because it was beat, Joe let me have for $2. And it's not that it's really that interesting to me musically, but it's interesting to me. This is JC Life. The guy's name is Jimmy Curtis, and he was in the band The Hobbit back in the 60s. And there is a bit of message in this that could be construed as Christian, but this at the same time, he's really not really. I think really what I would say now, I listened to all of side one here. Let me take that back. I think what I pick up from listening to the music as well as the words is how at this time in his life, he was going through some changes and thinking about things on a deeper level and sharing that in these songs, a deeper appreciation of things. So it comes off kind of spiritual. But the cover is beat, but the record's in great shape. The Perception label. And this is on the kind of folky, mellowy side of rock. Like I said, he was in the band The Hobbit. I don't have that album, but I've heard it. Thanks, Joe, for letting me have this for $2. Got a couple more things. One I picked up, I was pretty sure I already owned it, but I knew I didn't have this version of it. Plus, it's sealed, so I grabbed it for the trade. Stephen Halpern's Spectrum Suite. I just showed this to you. I have the original version of it on his label. This is a reissue through Gramavision. And it's not, it's not so much that I can afford to have doubles of things, but looking at what they had to offer in the price range of what I could afford and what I really wanted, this came out on top. And like I said before in a recent video, this is wonderful music. I'm going to leave this sealed for now and just add it to my collection because I have the music. I can listen to it, but happy to add this. And the 2 more albums. Again, having to pick at the lower fruit. Listen to me. I had to settle for what I could settle for. I've never owned a copy of this, and so I said, okay, there it is. It's in decent shape. I'll grab it. This is Go Live by Stamu Yamashita. Now I have Stamu Yamashita Go forever and have several of his albums. Percussionist from Japan, prize-winning percussionist, and excuse me, grab because it's right here. Yeah. So it's the live. It's a live recording of this. You might recognize this album, Stamu Yamashita with Steve Winwood and Michael Shreve, and that's what this is. Is a double live. And we've talked about a band called Automatic Man, or I have, and some other BC members have talked about that. Was kind of a dominantly black band, but Mike Shreve from Santana was the drummer. Rock band that they were excellent, never received their due. In essence, Automatic Man is the rhythm section on this album. Mike Shreve, Jerome Ransom, and Pat Thrall. And I've only played one side of this, but just happy to add this to the collection. Here's another Stamu Yamashita album I have. Come to the Edge. Great cover. Yeah. And what I'm listening to, and I hope it's not audible enough to get the copyright police bugging me, is this compilation. Now, what did I do with the cover? That's fun. Okay, just have it here. Okay. There's the Yamashitas. I'm going to let this go because this happens to me. I'll do too many things at one time. And that album, okay, here it is. It got dropped in here. So I was able to finally pick up this sampler. Innovative Communication sampler number 1. Innovative Communication is a label that the German musician Klaus Schulze, who I first heard of in the band Ashra Temple and the original Tangerine Dream, founded this primarily electronic music based label. I have a few things on the label, not all of these artists, but double album. I love this stuff. I love electronic music, so this was a nice score. Double Fantasy Software, Peter Seiler. All these guys, good stuff. Kurt Ryman, nice to have something of his on vinyl now. I like his stuff. So those are the records that I picked up as a result of trade happily, and nice hanging out with my friend Gary, who a little bit of a trivia for you. So Gary Foster, my friend I spoke about, he's a drummer in town from New Jersey, originally from Omaha. He moved out there about 2 years ago. But he's in town because a friend of ours, Mike Drahota, passed away. And he was the original drummer in a band that Gary was in for a long time. They had to change their name to The Front. This was international news. The band was called The Firm because it was made up of primarily lawyers. Actually, the original Firm, the original drummer, Mike Drahota, passed away last week. And they originally called The Firm because almost all of them were lawyers. And when Jimmy Page got together with the singer from Free and they started The Firm, they took legal action, to claim the name, and it made the news. And I don't know how much they got, but The Firm, the guys locally basically won, which is they got, it was acknowledged that, that they had the name first, so you got to pay us, and they got paid, and they had to change their name to The Front. But that's the band that Gary Foster was the drummer in up until they broke up, and he's in town now for the original drummer's funeral. Kind of sad. Mike is about my age, and he hit his head, unfortunately, rather severely, So just a little information about that's related to music, and everything. And I've just got all these records I've been playing. I could make an hour-long video. I could go on. I don't want to, but I will talk a little more and let this video upload overnight. Some records sitting down. Well, I'll show these because you don't see this part of my collection too often. Was vibing with some people online about Prince last night, so I pulled out my singles. Most of my Prince vinyl is in the closet. I'm out of space. I love Prince and think he's a he's a monster talent. Major talent. Seen him in live 3 or 4 times. Tried once to get one of my records backstage to him, and dealing with his security wasn't fun at all. They broke the record in front of me. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I love telling my stories. Prince and the Revolution. Just good music. And then last night I played this, hadn't played this in a long time. Robert Haig. Valentine Out of Season. This is on United Dairies. Now, United Dairies label came about for the purpose of releasing Nurse with Wound records, which are real sound-oriented. But this is solo piano, kind of melancholy. Kind of unusual for the label. I'm not exactly sure why this is on the label. But this is really good. Played both sides this last night. Melancholy, beautiful. Another album I've had for a while that last night I really enjoyed it because I hadn't up to then. SXL, Into the Outlands. This is a live recording. Sounds like it's a jam session between these musicians, which is Shankar, the late Ronald Shannon Jackson, amazing drummer. Aib Dieng, Bill Laswell, and then a group called Samunori. And this was better than I'd remembered. Really enjoyed it, actually. Very organic. jam-based, not quite jazz, somewhere in between jazz and not funk, but the rhythm is important. This is really good, SXL. This is fantastic. It's a 12-inch single by David Sylvian and Robert Fripp with a remix of Darshan. And it's the remix, the B-side remix, which is amazing. It shimmers. This cover is a close approximation of the sound of the B-side of this record. It shimmers. Literally, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like silver shimmering on water or something. Fantastic. David Sylvian and Robert Fripp. Darshan. Listened to this a couple times last night because it was just so good. Just put it back, put the needle back, and played it again. Count's Rock Band by Steve Marcus. He has his own CV, which I am aware of. Is it Buddy Rich or someone he played with? But this is a great album, and what really knocks me out about this album is Larry Coryell's guitar solos. But in general, the album is actually quite tasty. This is not considered this is not considered collectible. Where you can find this cheap. In my opinion, this is being overlooked. It's not really being listened to. Listen again. Sometimes when you don't get that breakbeat you're looking for in the first couple of cuts, people dismiss things. This comes alive if you stay with it. Very interesting album. Count's Rock Band by Steve Marcus. Steve Marcus. Now, since I'm here and I'm going to talk a little bit about something that is something I deal with as a black person, okay? A perception. It may be my imagination, but it happens so much that I know it's not. And it's related to this album. Neu, the German pioneers, of Motorik beat. Used to have the original English version with the pink cover, and got rid of it, sold it somehow. I had it when I was a teen. But anyway, Neu, this is just some great stuff. I had posted this online in the Krautrock group. And I say these things publicly because if people end up watching from the group, good. Because something that keeps happening and has happened, a lot as I've started to share things as a collector online. I know I'm not imagining this. I occasionally come across other people who will, send me a message or a comment, and the comment is either slightly snarky or the subtext of the comment is, oh, you don't really have that record. Oh, you couldn't possibly know about this music, or you're pulling a fast one. And this does have to do with dealing with the legacy of being black in America, where, whether people want to admit it or not, being a black person, I deal with being seen as a perp a lot. And, hello? Yeah? Is it Joe? Lyle, let me call you right back. I'm in the middle of making a video. I'm live on the camera right now, okay? Let me call you right back. No, I'm going to call you right back in a couple minutes. So this is someone I haven't heard from for a while. It sounds like somebody died. But anyway, so I dealt with a person asking me questions as though I don't know what I have, and that maybe this is something fake. And I dealt with it without taking it personally, because I understand, because I've dealt with it so much. It's like, I talked about Gary Foster, he's white, about this today, and he says, yeah, that does happen. I've seen it happen where, especially when you deal with collectors outside of jazz, where they just assume if it's jazz, okay, outside of jazz, then you get this weird shit. And so I dealt with it diplomatically, but it's something I deal with, and still, I had another comment last night where I decided not to take it personally, but a couple of friends of mine saw it and they picked up on it, and they did write comments to my defense. Not that it's needed, Because again, one of the things I'm really understanding and realizing is that we live in the mind, and what we think is what we think reality is. And so what people perceive, they think that that's what is. Just because this other collector who has I just met him, and he appears to be a scholar, but he made a snarky comment, about a picture of my records, which I don't. My ultimate thought is, well, I don't care. It's just what he thinks. I'm not living in his mind, so I don't care. This is my collection, My friends picked up on it, and they said something to my friend, basically saying, Dereck has helped me immensely to discover new music, The person was alluding to the fact that even though I got all these records, it's probably mostly shit. And this is my collection. It doesn't matter if someone else thinks it's shit. Does it? No, it doesn't. I'm the one listening, okay? 20 minutes. I need to call this person back. I think he has some news for me. Be well.